Good morning. I thought I'd start the session with a rendering of I Did It My Way in the key of G minor. So this is the second long, informal bar conversation, hopefully an annoying discussion about architecture or architecture and beyond. Yesterday, if I describe what's on the wall, there's Elliot is from the fifth year at the RCA. He couldn't come in today. He came yesterday, and he did his intermediate here, and then decided he wanted to move to the RCA. And then there's two pieces of work from, I think it's Emily and Nabila from Debate. So we sort of looked at those mainly yesterday, as we didn't get to the east corner. This is the east corner of the bar, isn't it? This LAWuN's other office. So yesterday we had visitors, Quentin from the first year, Ryan, Dylan, who else? Oh, Theo. Angelica told Theo, I hope you're not coming tomorrow. So today, well, we've got manager and John. I should introduce you to John Goodman, who is tutor at the RCA for most English architects. John has been a really important figure on the sort of scene, promoting very particular aspects of architecture and a particular interest in cybernetics. Mark, you all know Mark Morris, who's the head of teaching, and also Zainit from Digital Platforms. Oliver, who's in fifth year at Oxford Brookes and as a student of manager, and Danielle, yes, and Angelica, who is a student in what number are you? Inter 12 with Tynan and Inigo. And so hopefully they're going to describe briefly what you've done, the really core bits, the absolute crucial bits of your ideas. Anyway, I've rambled on too much. Let's get to look at some work.
My project's a bit different in that traditionally islands are approached from the sea or from the air, but Dungeness, where the project is based, is a land-based island. It's a place that's split up by a series of invisible boundaries. It's a place that has great contradictions in the architecture, both in scale and sort of ownership. And my project looks to allow those owners of sort of great juxtaposition to reinterpret the landscape based off their ideas. So starting with the power station that's there, allowing them to reuse the landscape, which is a sort of shingle landmass. It's a fluid solid, basically, moving the shingle to protect itself from the encroaching sea as it erodes, and then moving on to looking at the way the inhabitants would want to manipulate the landscape and perhaps generate their own real islands out to sea. And then finally allowing nature to take itself back, which is kind of what it would be doing anyway. The project started looking at shingle itself and how you could take a single piece of shingle from Dungeness, which could have come from anywhere in the sort of English Channel, and take it to a different point, and it would still be Dungeness. And so sort of how the islands became a position for a thesis. One of the things that I looked at to start with, which is very similar to Angelica's, is how the Dover Strait has a series of boundaries. And I was particularly interested in how these overlap, particularly between France and the UK, as sort of economic zone overlaps. So where Angelica's got these sort of meeting points, mine was originally a point in time where there were no specific boundaries, just a sort of an agreement of a single line as opposed to a definition. And I think, Angelica, do you want to talk about how the meeting points work?
Yeah. So in my case, I was really interested in the point, so at this specific point, which is a sort of conceptually international point, because it's interesting how in a situation where there are some very specific division in the sea, there's actually a point that can be a point of possibility for merging these boundaries. So here you can see a case study that I did I researched about it. It's in Lagos. It's a Lagos lagoon. It's interesting how the boundaries between land and water blur because of this construction of houses on stilts in the sea. And it's interesting because it's a sort of opportunistic move that people had to take to jump on water because there was a lack of land during a boom of population. So these people jumped on water, and that's interesting because the reason why they managed to do it so smoothly is because the legislation on the lagoon was very uncertain. The government wasn't clear on who the lagoon belonged to. So they just jumped on water, and that created a blur between these two sort of physical nature, which is land and water. So similarly, in my case, I'm trying to understand how the possibility of water, so this fluidity of water, is interesting for me to blur the boundaries there in the middle of the sea.